I've explained these three areas: sources, uses, and timing. And I've said that these three areas are the key areas to managing your cash flow. But of course, it doesn't come without challenges. The challenge is being able to bring these three areas together and make the right decision. And some of the common pitfalls lies in the decisions that are usually made. Let's dig into some of the common pitfalls that we find ourselves in when trying to bring these three things together in trying to manage our money. So the first place that I see a common pitfall or challenge is discounts. Yes, those sales discounts that you like to give. Here's the issue about giving discounts. The source of the cash now, which is the sale, is less because you've given a discount. But the timing might be more immediate because they may pay now. So you are now faced with trying to weigh the decision of, do I give the discount to get money now, knowing very well that it is going to be less. Less money means less money available to meet my obligations. So this is where it's a challenge now to bring these areas together. And it's a challenge to decide, how do I give the discount? Can I even afford to give the discount? Let's talk about credit terms, another common area. So credit terms that you give to your customers. They will pay later, right? Which means you may probably benefit from a longer relationship with the customer. But the thing about it is, what happens if you need cash now? They are paying later. You're offering them a credit term to pay later. But if you need cash now, what is your source of cash going to be? Is it then going to be owner injection? Are you going to inject money into the business to front that time that until you get paid? Are you going to dip into a loan? Are you going to take a loan from the bank if it's a longer period of time? Or are you going to dip into your overdraft facility if you have one, right? What those things does now is brings out the concept of interest, because those things aren't free. A loan and an overdraft are not free. So if you're now dipping into taking an overdraft or taking a loan to help tide you over until such time as the money from customers come in, that now means you're paying interest. Have you considered that? Again, this is where source, timing is clashing, and you have to make the best decision. Another area is not taking down payments. So this is more in particular if you're a business that operates more in a project space and you're operating over a period of time, or if you are a business that offers customized products. So maybe you offer specialized cakes, maybe you do wedding cakes, or maybe you offer customized furniture and you start the job, right? And then you get paid after. Not taking a down payment is something that can impact your cash flow. Again, because you don't have that money coming in, but in order to execute the job, aren't you going to need cash? So this is a typical challenge or a typical mistake that we see happening, where you don't take a down payment or you don't take a sufficient down payment. Other things like lack of planning for the seasonality issue that we spoke about earlier. If you're not planning for that seasonality properly, that's going to lead to you having insufficient cash. Remember, seasonality means that you're only in demand some times of the year. You're not in demand all times for the year. So how do you now plan for when you don't have that rush of cash? So lack of planning as it pertains to your seasonality. Not having the details of transactions. What do I mean by that? Well, if you don't know the details of the transactions, then you have problems in identifying the uses of cash and the timing of cash, and even the source, because you don't have a handle on what is happening in the business. So you have problems in identifying the use of cash, the timing of cash, and where it has to go. Lack of record keeping is the number one cause for this problem. Without proper record keeping, you really don't know what is happening. I've left my last two pitfalls or challenges. I've left the last two my favorites. I don't like it. Well, it's a bit of a favorite. I've left them for last. Last, or the second to last challenge, invisible spending. Don't adjust your screen. As you can see, this slide is empty. And it's empty because, well, it's invisible, right? We're talking about invisible spending. Invisible spending is a real problem when it comes to managing the cash in your bank account. And why is that? Well, this happens because you're spending and not tracking what you're spending. This is typically found in the problem of not paying yourself. And I'm sure a lot of you, when you started, would have identified that you're not, as one of your problems when we started with the first slide and we identified the problems. One of the problems was not paying yourself, and you probably would have identified with that. But I want to challenge you, and I beg to differ, that you are paying yourself, especially if this is your only source of income. How are you living? The groceries that you paid or that light bill that you paid from the business account, it wasn't a business expense and you didn't track it. So in your mind, isn't it a bit invisible? Because you didn't really track it, so you don't know. But you know who saw that expense and who felt that expense? The bank account. Bank account knows all and sees all. And the bank account, as I said at the beginning, is really the symptom. The bank account is not the problem, but the bank account is going to show you the harsh realities of the decisions that you have made. So that is why at the end of the month, you feel like you didn't really spend that much. So how come there isn't more money there? Because the invisible spending has happened, right? You've spent money that you didn't really track, right? So invisible spending and not paying yourself are actually related. And I want you to think about your situation. Do you have invisible spending? Are you swiping at the ice cream parlor or at Starbucks without thinking about it? And don't get me wrong, I have nothing against Starbucks, by the way. It could be a very legitimate business expense. If you are going there to conduct a business meeting, perfectly legit, swipe away. But if you're going there just to shoot the breeze with a friend, then more than likely that is more personal spending. And in essence, that is you paying yourself, right? When you take your business money and you use it to support yourself in an ad hoc manner, that is not a salary. That is where it becomes invisible to you and you're not really feeling it. This brings me to the final pitfall. Commingling. Commingling is a dirty word when it comes to your business finances. It's when personal and business transactions are all mixed up, and it prevents you from truly seeing what is happening in your business. Is the bank account low because you're constantly paying personal expenses? Or are the sale proceeds going into your personal account? Therefore, you have no idea how much money you really received. You can't see clearly when things are being commingled. You just cannot, right? And this, plus all the other pitfalls that I described, means that you end up making uninformed decisions, and decisions that can impact the bank account negatively and cause you to have low balances or insufficient balances to meet your obligations.